Congratulations on this film.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on this film. Yeah, it's really something special. You could not have timed this better.
Yeah. Or worse. Who knows? We'll see.
Yeah, that's true. Oh wait, let's start the podcast. I am going to do this little intro. It's a little animated intro, which is here. Let's just go. Welcome to the Film Threat Podcast, Chad Hartigan, your film Little Fish, which I saw, and dude, you could not. I mean, this. First of all, it's a beautiful film. It's, it's a love story. Olivia Cooke is brilliant in it. If you have not seen the trailer, see the trailer, or better yet, don't see the trailer. Just see the movie. Go in cold. I went in cold. Didn't know anything about it. You basically created this beautiful romance set during a pandemic of a completely different sort that I don't think you could have predicted the pandemic, but the film is based on a short story, if I'm correct. Can you tell me what went into the development of the film, turning it from short story to feature, and then the crazy timing of your film having just resonating more than you possibly could have imagined?
Yeah. Well, I actually was one of the last pieces of the puzzle to come in, but I do know about the development. And it's a short story written by Asia Gable. And I think she wrote it around 2016 or 2017. And it got a little attention. And she was courted by quite a few different production companies, I think, and eventually decided to go with this screenwriter, Mattson Tomlin, even though he was young and didn't really have any produced credits yet, because she just really loved what he had to say about how he would interpret this short story. And I think the gist of that was that he was just going to keep the focus on this hyper focus on this one couple and their relationship, and keep the science fiction as backdrop. And so then he wrote it, and Olivia Cooke came on pretty early. She's a producer on the film, and got attached early. And so Mattson wrote with her in mind, and then they were actually in production, close to production, with a different director who dropped out. And coincidentally, I had a project that fell apart at the same time, and had already read this script and liked it, and they had liked me, so we reconnected, and then it moved really fast from there. But I first read it in around November 2018, and it really resonated with me because even at that time, it was pre-pandemic, but it was around the time of the Brett Kavanaugh hearings, and children were in cages on the border, and it just felt like there was bad news everywhere you looked. And anytime you allowed yourself to take a peek at the outside world, you would be slammed with bad news. And so there was already this daily struggle of like, how much do I let that affect my daily life, which may or may not be going well. And in my case, my girlfriend was pregnant with our first child, so it was going very well in my personal life, and there's so much love to be found in my direct circle. But then, just this doom and gloom feeling from the outside, and I thought, if I could capture that feeling of like just trying to focus on the love that you have, and getting day by day through something kind of unprecedented and dramatic, that maybe that could be relatable. And of course now it's very relatable to almost everybody.
Very relatable. But the whole idea of, there's so many things that happen in the film surrounding, the main couple, your protagonist, that, it's eerie. It's eerie because it's the film, whether intentional or not, kind of predicted, you know, everything from a vaccine or not a vaccine, but like a potential,
Yeah.
you know, therapeutic, a cure to this ailment that is in the film, the civil unrest that ensues, as you began to see how 2020 unfolded. Did you just think, oh my God, I just made this movie, and everything that's happening in the film that I just made is now transpiring around me and affecting everyone I know and care about?
Yeah, I have a text chain with the producer and the screenwriter, and anytime, every few weeks we'd be texting something like an article or an image from the news that directly correlated to something that we had in the film. And even in some cases, stuff we cut out of the film because we thought it was maybe too extreme or too unbelievable, and yet it would end up being true. So yeah, very weird. But I just think I'm happy that the movie treated all those things the way it did, and not really in a sensationalized way, because it meant that I don't really feel insensitive releasing the film, because it takes such a sensitive and earnest look at what people might actually do in those situations, and so I feel like it. Another reason why it feels like it's so predictive of today is because of the way the characters actually behave in the pandemic. And yeah, everything from the masks to the potential cure that's the rollout of which is being botched by the government, and held off, and people want it and they can't get it. And yeah, I mean, and that stuff is relatively new. 6 months ago we were all in wonderment of the similarities between kind of what lockdown was like and what the movie is like. And now, 6 months later, we're in awe of how similar the cure vaccine stuff is playing out. It just seems like every step along the way has been a mirror to the film.
But what the film does so beautiful, I mean, and just for anyone listening to this or watching this, the pandemic in Little Fish is sort of the backdrop to what's the larger story of the couple struggling with what the ailment is in the film, which is like an extreme version of Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Where, you're rapidly losing your memory. And what I love that you did in the film so beautifully is the lead, one of the leads, not Olivia Cooke. I'm spacing on the other actor's name. My apologies.
Jack O'Connell.
Jack O'Connell. Yeah. He's a photographer in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And photography is so attached to memory, right? I mean, that's how we consume, I think, or process our memories is through photography, our Instagram feed, photos that we keep up around. So I thought that was such a well-utilized device in the film. But it's horrific, because what the movie does is really shows how, not so much Jack, like, his character and how he's dealing with it. I mean, we see how his coping mechanisms, but Olivia Cooke, her character, and how she's dealing with someone who's afflicted. And I feel like that's the thing that has not been covered nearly as much in mainstream media, is what is the cost of those that are left behind. And her struggle is really the primary story, her struggle there.
Yeah.
How did you? Yeah,
it's hard to imagine which is worse, being the person that is afflicted or the one who has to watch your loved one be afflicted.
Yeah, I almost think I'd rather be the one dealing with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like it's like, okay, I know what I'm in for, I know what's happening, but to see Olivia Cooke's, her character and how she struggled and how she, what she went through, I thought was just, and the way that she handled it was just devastating. What was it like to work with her on that? And then talk a little bit about this use of photography, because I thought that was so well done in the film.
Yeah. Well, I'll do the photography first. that was in the short story. He was a photographer, and so it stayed all the way through. And I was really happy to have it in there because as like you said, I feel like all of my memories are tied to photography, and I'm always carrying around a disposable camera. So I had Jack use a disposable camera in the movie. But for the last 10 years, I've just always had one on me, and love the whole cycle of taking photos and then forgetting about them for 2 weeks and then getting them developed and seeing them for the first time and not remembering what you took a picture of and then having those memories come back. And it just felt like a no-brainer to have photography play that kind of part in the film because it is so closely tied to memories for me. And same with music, which maybe we can talk about later. But Olivia is a dream. She's the best. And I'm really glad she's, having a moment with Sound of Metal, because she's amazing in that as well. And now Game of Thrones. So, she's only going to be a superstar. And she was on this project from the beginning, like long before I was. And it's a real passion project for her. And so I knew coming in that, I wanted to do right by her and make sure that she had everything she needed to give the performance that she gave, because it was not an easy role and an emotionally draining shoot and a tough, quick shoot because it's an indie movie and they all are. And but we were just lucky that we got her and Jack O'Connell because their chemistry was amazing and natural from the get-go. Didn't have to really do anything to get them to that point. They just have such a strong mutual respect for each other as actors that from the beginning, their chemistry was really great. And it sort of felt like watching a real relationship develop as we shot. And there's a real affection for each other by the time we were ending. And you can see that in the movie, I think.
You mentioned the music, and I believe, in addition to photography, and I'm so glad you brought up photos. Like I miss those days where you would take photos, you'd go, and then 2 weeks later or a week later, you'd get your double prints of 4x6s. It's kind of weird. Now we just live in this instant gratification society, but the music is it's also a big part of memory, but also the score is so effectively used. Tell me about what went into that aspect of the film.
Yeah, I knew sort of that music was going to be a huge part just because the cinematographer and I decided early on that the approach we wanted to take was to not do any strong visual indicators of where you are in the timeline. There's the present, there's the past, and then there's maybe false memories of the past. And so there's kind of 3 different timelines we're working on. And we really didn't want to telegraph immediately via some grand visual shift that you were in one or the other. So we knew it was going to kind of be a case of the audience maybe being a few minutes to catch up or just wanted to feel kind of like a free-flowing, dreamlike atmosphere throughout. And so I knew that the music was going to be key to getting that across and getting that across successfully. So the composer is a guy named Keegan DeWitt, who I've worked with on all my films and have known for 20 years. And so he was working on it from the beginning, even before we were shooting and coming up with stuff. And we talked about the idea of the theme of the movie being sort of the gradual erasure of a person. And can we translate that concept to music? And he wrote this big theme that could be repeated over the course of the film, but maybe one time it repeats and you've taken out this instrument from it. It's not quite the full orchestrated version. It's got this instrument missing, or maybe it's got this melody missing, and another time it has this melody intact. So we played around with that, and that's what is in the final movie, and I think really successfully gives off that dreamlike, maybe the whole movie is just one long memory feeling.
Well, oh my gosh! Now that you say that, it makes me want to watch the movie again. But I can notice that detail That's, oh man,
Yeah.
that's really
We did that with the production design as well. I mean, it's small stuff. You're not meant to notice it, but over the course of the movie, like a picture on their bed frame is the picture, and then later it's just kind of like a black screen. It's you can't make out what it is, and so we try to do as much as we could. And then the color grading of the cinematography, we kind of messed with the blacks so that they weren't quite as sharp as the movie went along, and we kind of have a more fuzzier feeling to the whole look. So it's like small, subtle stuff, but like the whole approach to every aspect of the filmmaking was this gradual erasure.
I feel like, I mean, the timeliness of this can't be understated, but the fact that it's also set in a sort of science fiction realm, a sci-fi romance, right? It's not, I feel like it's almost a better way to be able to experience this film. The fact that the affliction in the film is not so on the nose, right, as to be close to what COVID is, or the coronavirus. It's a completely different thing, but handled similarly. I feel this movie has the potential to be like therapy for all of us. Can you tell me about the reactions? Like, I know you talked to other journalists today, and I don't know if you've seen the movie with a large audience, but can you tell me about people's reaction to this film? And I really feel like it has the potential to be like therapy, because that's kind of what I felt in my experience of it.
Yeah. I can just say that I was really, really nervous about it. Once it became clear that it was going to be released in a very different environment than we ever intended it to be in, and it's so unpredictable. It's been a long time since we'd finished it, and the pandemic has been raging. So I've had a lot of time to think about it. But it played a few virtual film festivals in the fall, and so then I could log on to Letterboxd and read a few reviews and see, and I was very pleasantly surprised to see that it did sort of play as a cathartic release for people. And there's an occasional one or two people who were like, it's just too sad, which is okay. But yeah, for the most part, it seemed like maybe even people were in a better place to receive it than they might have been if everything was hunky-dory and we're asking you to sort of imagine yourself in this kind of apocalyptic scenario, and the pain and sadness / joy and love and excitement that would come along with it. Now that's default.
Right. I feel like it's also,
Chris, I got to ask you real quick. Do you remember our shared history?
I think I do. I don't, first of all, I don't want to embarrass myself, but yes, I remember that we have been in a hot tub together.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
My God. Okay, cool. I was like, because I was like, wait a sec, because Chad Hartigan's not necessarily a common name, right? Like,
yeah.
So I looked at him like, oh my God, I think I've met this guy. You've gotten much better looking. You were gangly skinny. I may have weighed less, but yeah, I was the host of a game show on IFC called Ultimate Film Fanatic, and you were the winner of season 1. And you're a legit movie nerd, and it was a blast. You even did like this special dedicated to you. I'm just so amazed, because then I remember after doing Film Threat that you're like, hey, I've made this little movie, maybe you'll check it out. And then of course you moved up the scale, but those videos exist on YouTube. Yeah, that's
they
crazy.
do. Yeah, that's one of the first things I did when I moved out to LA after graduating was trying to do odd jobs and earn money. I saw that there was postings on Craigslist for game show contestants, and so I went on this one called Ultimate Film Fanatic, and I won it. Chris was the host, and that was a real game changer for me, because it was $10,000 I think I won, and that so I could buy a car. I didn't have a car up until that point. I was sharing a car or riding the bus in LA. So yeah, that was huge. And then I got to host IFC's channel for a night.
Oh, wow.
And And now, full circle, we're here talking about this film, which is being released by IFC.
Isn't that weird that it just like all came like, here we are, and now we're reunited. This is, I think that you can find that stuff on YouTube somewhere. That show.
Yeah,
that
just
was,
search for Ultimate Film Fanatic
and
enjoy. It's a great show.
It was great. It was a lot of fun. The torture of that show was not being able to talk to the contestants while they were in contention, because you get movie nerds in a room and you know, obviously just the banter back and forth and the one-upsmanship of your movie knowledge. But it's so great. You put your movie knowledge to good use. And the film is beautiful. I would really put it in the category of like in Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, in the sense that it is a therapy about the trials and tribulations that any relationship that's tested, right? And you know, what glimmer of hopefulness can be seen through the dark. And dude, I'm so pumped for you, because this film could not be coming out at a better time. It comes out today, and by today I mean February 5th, because that's when this podcast is posting. We're recording this a few days earlier, but I really just, people have to check this movie out. It's wonderful, and I do think that your movie geek knowledge has served you well.
Thanks. I mean, I don't know if you remember, but the final was getting to have dinner with Robert Evans. It was down to me and one other contestant, and then we went to Robert Evans's house and had dinner with him, which was a surprise. And then he talked to us, and at the end of the dinner was meant to just pick one of us to win. And Robert Evans, God bless him, he's a legend. He was already a little bit old at that time, and I think he misunderstood the concept of the show, and only picked me because I actually had aspirations to be a filmmaker, and the other contestant was a teacher. And he just thought that, oh, well, this guy wants to make movies, so he's obviously a bigger fanatic. The other guy, I think, in fairness, was more of a ultimate film fanatic. But I'm not complaining. Thank you, Robert Evans, and I'm happy that I've done good for him.
Well, and if you want to learn about Robert Evans, the documentary, Brett Morgan documentary, The Kid Stays in the Picture, that is just brilliant, an inspiring documentary. Chad Hartigan, congratulations. Every time I meet, I'm just going to, we meet up, I'm just going to congratulate you, whether you're winning a game show or whether you have a new film coming out. And Little Fish and I love that the title specifically ties into a moment in the film. I don't want to discuss it. I feel like that should remain unspoiled, but it really is a beautiful movie. Chad, dude, it's great to reconnect. I can't wait to see what you have upcoming next.
Yeah, hopefully the next time we'll get to do this in person.
Let's do it over drinks.
Over drinks.
Maybe not at a jacuzzi. I remember that place was that place was a little weird that we went to. It was like in Burbank or North Hollywood or something.
Yeah, it was a like hotel with themed rooms, and it was clearly only for people to go and have seedy nights. And I remember this very clearly, we shot it on February 15th, which means the night before was Valentine's Day. And so just imagining what happened in that jacuzzi the night before.
Oh my God, that's awful. Congrats, Chad. Thank you so much.
We might have actually even started COVID then. COVID originated in that hot tub, I think.
Oh my God, that would be awful. But no, dude, I'm just having seen you move along in your career. It's fantastic to see. And that's sort of like the reason why I have this outlet, Film Threat, is one, it's my excuse to talk to filmmakers, which is my favorite thing to do. And then secondly, just to support movies. Although your film feels like a much bigger movie in scope. There really is a world building about this pandemic that takes it beyond. You really used a lot of tools to give it a much bigger global science fiction feel. So kudos for that.
Thanks. That was the goal. Yeah. We always try to make each movie feel like they're bigger than they actually were. And this one especially, it was necessary.
Awesome. Take care, Chad. Thanks again.
All right. Thanks.